In the 14th century, one man became so rich that his journey collapsed entire economies. Not a European king, not an oil tycoon, an African emperor, whose wealth modern billionaires still cannot match. His name was Mansa Musa, and history tried to erase him. When people think of medieval power, they imagine castles, crusades, and European kings. But while Europe struggled with poverty and plague, West Africa was home to the richest empire the world had ever seen. At its heart stood the Mali Empire, stretching across modern-day Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Niger, and beyond. And ruling it was Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa became emperor in the year 1312. He inherited an empire that controlled the world's most valuable resources, gold and salt. At the time, gold meant power, and salt meant survival. Cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Jenne became global centers of trade, learning, and culture. Mansa Musa was not only wealthy, he was educated, deeply religious, and politically brilliant. In the year 1324, Mansa Musa began a pilgrimage to Mecca. But this was no ordinary journey. He traveled with more than 60,000 people, 12,000 servants, each dressed in silk and each carrying gold. 80 camels followed behind, every one of them loaded with over 100 kilograms of pure gold. As Mansa Musa passed through Cairo, he gave gold freely, to the poor, to merchants, and to rulers. So much gold entered Egypt that the value of gold collapsed. Prices exploded. Inflation followed. Egypt's economy would take more than 10 years to recover. One man, one journey, a global economic disaster. But Mansa Musa did not only give away gold, he invested in knowledge. On his return to Mali, he brought back architects, scholars, scientists, and writers. He transformed Timbuktu into one of the greatest centers of learning in the world. The University of Sankore housed hundreds of thousands of manuscripts covering mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, and philosophy. While Europe burned books, Africa preserved them. In the year 1375, a European map was created, the Catalan Atlas. At its center sat a black African king holding a massive gold nugget. That king was Mansa Musa. Europe knew Africa's power, but centuries later, colonial narratives rewrote the story, portraying Africa as poor, backward, and dependent. The truth was buried. After Mansa Musa's death, internal conflicts weakened the empire. Trade routes shifted. Rivals rose. Centuries later, colonial forces arrived. Mali faded from global dominance, but not from history. Or at least, it should not have. Mansa Musa remains the richest individual in human history. Richer than Rockefeller. Richer than Bezos. Richer than modern nations. His story challenges everything we were taught about Africa. Africa was not waiting to be discovered. Africa was already ruling. This is one of many empires history tried to erase. If you want the stories schools never taught, subscribe to The Erased Empires, because history did not begin in Europe, and it will not end in silence.